Welcome to the I Don't Have a Haircut podcast. I'm your host, Kopek. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, you know that I'm kind of the go-to guy for the friends that ask about like investing and financing and things like that. Let's get something way out of the way right now. This is a disclaimer. This is not financial advice. I am legally prohibited from giving financial advice due to multiple people that I work with. The fact that I don't have a license. This is not good advice. Do not listen to this. All right? You got that? This is just my personal thoughts on some market trends. I cannot stress this enough. All right. So I got a few emails from the last couple videos asking like, I know you said you don't give advice, but do you have any advice for this? Which is, but, but you know, it's been enough people that maybe somebody is interested in it. And I wrote some emails out to people. So I thought I'd go through and I can just do a video on it as well because we need content. So the basic question was basically if you had X amount of money, what would you do in the market right now? A lot of people are thinking of buying the dip, so to speak, when it's at its lowest. You know, I've had some people think that oil's a pretty good bet and different things like that. So I'll just go through and give you some of my thoughts and things like that. Well, here's another disclaimer as well. Long-term positions are the easiest way for the average person to make money in the market. And long-term as in like 401k, long-term type things. Trading is going to lose you money 95% of the time. Any branding or courses that say you can be a stockbroker from your home are not good. Those are scams. They make money through selling you those services. They make money by the slippage, which is the fees involved and everything like that. When I did Scottrade, it had like a $7 fee for every transaction. So unless you're doing multiple thousands at a time, you would lose percent gains just from the slippage and different things like that. So day trading from home is probably not going to be your best option. I'm sure there's people that make it work, but this is not what I would recommend to do. So basically the short answer is I'm not really sure if I would invest anything right now. A lot of this is unprecedented and we have no way of knowing how this whole situation is going to be handled politically. And I assume it's going to be handled politically. My personal thinking is that we're going to be falling into a recession for maybe the next 10 to 14 months, depending on when the actual flu goes away. I mean, optimistic forecasts are predicting at least 8 months of recession. And those people are like, they don't want to tell you it's raining outside, let alone there's going to be a market dip. So if they say there's an 8-month recession, so see, I'll be looking to put my money back into the market in like 8 to 12 months, assuming we stick on this path. When that begins to happen, my tactic would be dollar cost averaging. And then I'll link to some cool videos that should explain what dollar cost averaging is for the average investor. But it's basically buying at repeated intervals at whatever the price is. And that would be into an index fund, like a technologies fund like IWM, or my personal favorite is the SPY 500, which is just the top 500 markets or the top 500 like companies. It's a good mix of different things in the market. A 401k tied to an index fund is also a safer bet. So that's kind of the short answer. The long answer, so the entirety of the political establishment and internationally is dedicated to not let the market crash. We're in modern monetary theory, which is a fancy way of like a mix of Keynesian economics and just pure irrational exuberance would be the keyword that they've used before. It's long way of saying it's all fake. We're off the dollar standard. Nothing, our money is not tied to labor. It's not tied to anything but like the general consensus of what the money is. And odds are we're going to see a few upticks in the market throughout this entire thing. And that's also known as a dead cat bounce, where you'll be falling and then it'll boom, spike back up for a little bit and then continue a downward trend. And I think we're going into a bear market. There's already been over $10 trillion pumped into the stock market the past month. And it's kind of like just a random crapshoot right now to see what's gonna overperform. The gold and silver markets are already in chaos, and too many people are buying. You already see dealers putting limiting buys and canceling buybacks and things like that. The price is still dropping though because of the futures derivatives, and they're manipulating the price and suppressing it. 5 trillion USD is on silver alone, when the entire yearly mine supply is worth less than 20 billion. And this is all to artificially manipulate the price. I forget what the institute is that owns like 60% of all the silver reserves or something, or the mines. I want to say Goldman Sachs, but I can't put a little asterisk there because I can't remember. Basically, they own the entire supply of it, and personally, if you like a little bit more of clandestine conspiratorial stuff, you could say it's so that we never go to that as a standard. We never fall back on any of the hard currency because the banks will own it as well. So there's a lot of stuff in there, and that even goes above my pay grade. The repo markets, which is repurchase agreements for corporate, they've been on life support already since September. And corporate debt is already set up in a way that it's poised to trigger a cascade of major institutional defaults. Like they've been slowly preparing for this whole crash, but because we know it's coming, it's a bubble. But this whole flu thing has been kind of unexpected. It's kind of accelerated the timetables for all these things. I think there's a lot of people already seeing this as the buy time. That's not what like the smart money's doing. A lot of the whales have already moved out of their big positions and are still liquidating. This information is a week old already that I'm going off of, so I haven't looked at it today. So this could all be out of date by the time it's done. In fact, I did hear this morning that the market's doing a lot better. It will start to do a lot better when we get the confirmation that the new drugs, hydrochlorine or whatever, in that cocktail or a vaccine is produced, and we're going to see a lot more optimism in that. And you did see a markup when they declared an end to the quarantine, even if it was just a optimistic viewpoint, and we know we're now going past that. And of course, this doesn't even all begin to tackle the global supply chain issues with just-in-time delivery and the incredible outsourcing that we've done for the past generation or so. That's completely destroyed the American manufacturing and everything like that. So my personal thoughts is this is not a dip. This is like a bubble pop. There's so many things that are just propped up on like with toothpicks that are about to collapse. Is this the time when it collapses, or somehow do we like pull out of this nosedive and get back to MMT, like financial quantitative easing stuff? Like, I mean, who could say? Honestly, like, we really have no idea. And if you take anything from this video, it's that anybody telling you direct answers, unless they're the chairman of the Fed and you're the friend of the chairman of the Fed and he's giving you the real stuff, that nobody can give you the answers to this. No, if anybody tells you what stock to buy, take it with a big grain of salt. I personally think the market's not, if this is the crash and the bubble pops, I think it's not going to pop back up to the peaks we just had, like even a month or two ago. I don't know what to say more than that it's fake, that it's all not real. I'm not saying this crisis isn't real. I'm saying the economics is not real. Economics is not a science. It's just something that people do as an intellectual puzzle for themselves. You can make arguments that things like supply and demand are real, but like the rest of this stuff is not, especially in the globalization that we have now. I'll link to a video about MMT that should go on for more information about this. I think the best time to buy back long positions will be in a year or so, or if this somehow dies in a few months, and you'll know it when they announce cures and announce the quarantine's over and things like that. I think it's still going to fall more. I mean, you should see some of these people that Airbnb is in a rough spot, and not just the company, but like so many people. This was a big thing in the boomer generation where they talked about passive income, and a lot of that would be rental properties. And Airbnb has kind of accelerated that, where it doesn't matter how much debt you have or how much you owe on a house if you have a positive cash flow with a renter inside. So you would get a mortgage, you would qualify for a mortgage, you would rent it out and then pay the mortgage off the rental thing. So you would be building basically free equity with just the work it takes to manage the property and things like that. And a lot of people overextended like that in 2008. And they're extending it, they're far into that now. We haven't learned our lesson on that. Luckily, this crisis is not from credit default swaps like 2018 or 2008 was. But so I don't know what the housing market's going to do. I hope it like crashes to the bottom, just so I can buy properties. so I could buy a house. Wouldn't that be cool? With I don't know if they give mortgages to YouTubers. I don't know how that is. I'd have to check into that. But but that would be good for me. That was my own little personal wish, and I know that comes at the expense of other people who have all their stuff in mortgages. But going back to the Airbnb thing, a lot of people have, and you'll see this on Twitter, people freaking out, is like 50 mortgage properties that they just pay from Airbnb. And nobody's traveling now. Nobody's going to the Airbnb. So guess what? You just default on 50 mortgages. I think that's a very small percentage of the overall mortgage debt, but it's still significant enough. And people just rent normal houses too. It doesn't have to be an Airbnb. Even if you have long-term renters, they're going to be hurting too. If you can get into like medical funds, I mean, we just had the executive order to nationalize the supply chains for all the vital medicines and supplies, and that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I have a feeling that should be good. Online companies with no physical products could beat the market in gains. Plastics industry is probably a safe bet alongside like biomedical. The risk of losing more in like 3 to 4 positions is much higher than an index fund. An index fund is like hedging your bets against all this stuff. Whereas like if you just invest in Apple, if Apple tanks, then you're out of luck. But if you hedge your bets with Apple, Google, and like all the tech funds, then your gains will be less. But let me phrase this: your potential gains will be less, but your risk will be a lot lower. And on average, you'll earn more over a longer period of time because the market, most investors do not beat the general market trends. So if you invest in an index fund like SPY, you'll be doing better off than somebody who just invests in a couple little stocks that they think are going to go big or go viral or something like that. I don't know enough to recommend either option right now, either going for specific stocks or mutual funds or index funds or anything. And like I said, none of this is a recommendation. None of it. I don't even know why I'm filming this video. I am, because a lot of people have been asking, and maybe this can give you some information that you can go look through things more. Like you follow the links that I put in the bottom, or you're like, that's an interesting thing. Let me look at what is modern monetary policy and go through like that. So this is kind of an informational video to say, don't trust anybody else. Don't trust me. Don't trust yourself. Don't. And just as an aside on the oil story that I talked about a few videos ago, we don't know how that's going to play out. The oil markets could come back like that. They could come up with a political solution that would restrict foreign oil markets, or maybe the whole Russia announcement about their new, cheaper way to produce oil was just angling for less intervention in Iran. Who really knows? Who can say? We won't know, maybe ever. So, like I said, don't take financial advice from a guy who drives around in a van and wants to escape into the mountains before the FEMA camps come. It is what it is. I hope you guys are all staying safe out there and not driving around. I see a lot on Facebook where people are like, oh, I'm getting cooped up in my campsite. I want to travel across the country. They're asking for advice on like what the best paths are, and there's checkpoints now on the roads, interstate, where they'll test your temperature or even turn you back. I know Florida's doing that. Texas is doing that. Colorado just put out something today, and I don't know how true this is. This is hearsay. This is fake news. They're restricting all tourists. Unless you live there, you can get fined up to $5,000 or 18 months in county jail for being a tourist there. I don't know if that includes just driving through the highway. I don't know if that's like, I want to go to the water park there or what. But if you can, if you're in a good spot now, I would say stay there. That's what I'm doing. I'm kind of camped out in this nondescript location, ready to bug out when they announce the mandatory vaccines. We're gonna drive. It's gonna be like who does that song where it's like it's not On the Run, it's Ride Like the Wind. Yeah, that's gonna be the song playing in the background as I'm driving away from they're trying to put the Bill Gates microchip in me. Nope, not gonna happen. I'm gonna ride like the wind. So why are you guys watching this? I don't know. Anyway, I hope that helps a little bit, even if the gist was basically wait and see. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm gonna go through the comments and read that. I've been slacking on doing that, and we'll get back to making some stuff. So let me know if you can think of any cool videos that you want to see. I actually really like this format where I'm just kind of sitting and talking to you guys, because it doesn't require a whole lot of editing, and I don't have to get out and like film other scenes and things like that. And there's not too much to film right now. I'd really like to like go on a road trip somewhere, but like I just said, now's probably not the best time to do that. So we'll have to see. I do have some backlog film that I filmed a long time ago. So I might just go back and put some of that. And there's some really cool, exciting things that I've done. I don't want to spoil anything, but if I eventually get around to making those videos, it'll be great. So I hope you guys have a good day.